Good morning, you're watching the Channel M Breakfast Show on Wednesday, the 11th of March. I'm Nikki Dean.
And I'm Byron Evans, and if you're thinking of ditching the fags, today is the day to do it. It is National No Smoking Day. And throughout this morning's show, we've been giving you a helpline number where you can contact the powers that be to give up the demon ciggies.
Yes, now there's never been a better time than now. We are in a recession. If you're trying to save some cash, giving up the cigarettes could be a great way to do it. The Quit It number, if you want to get in touch, is on your screen now. It's 0800 432 0303. And
the campaigner for Smoke-Free Manchester, Councillor Pat Carney, has said this morning that smoking is the biggest killer in our region. And as Nikki said, times are tough at the moment, feeling the pinch in the pocket. Maybe this is his best time ever to throw away those fags. Now, in a few minutes, we'll get the final sporting headlines of the morning with Mike Bradley and an exciting workshop for budding young entrepreneurs. But first, today's news headlines with James.
Good morning. These are the stories you're waking up to this Wednesday. Plans to put a new business park at Manchester Airport could create up to 5,000 new jobs. An area of land's been chosen for the development, which could take between 10 and 15 years to happen. It would include shops, offices and leisure facilities. Business leaders are welcoming the so-called mini-city that would end up next to an existing business park there. MPs are to bring up in Parliament the case of the Christie, which has been told it could lose more than £6 million of charity cash. A campaign starting to get more people behind the push to have it given back to the world-famous cancer hospital. The money was held in an Icelandic bank, which collapsed last year, and staff have now been told they've not done enough to get it returned. It's hoped more fundraisers and celebrities will put pressure on the organisation responsible for awarding compensation to change its mind. Chief constables are being told to get tougher with serving police officers who have criminal records. Figures show across the country there are more than 1,000 who have convictions, including 59 for assault, 3 for burglary and 93 for dishonesty. A further 210 have lost their jobs or resigned since 2004 because of their offences. A Manchester City fan has had his football banning order overturned. 19-year-old Davy Grime from Sale has convinced an appeal court judge he hadn't shouted offensive songs about Manchester United or abused an officer. He'd previously been handed a 3-year ban. Silent protests are to be held across Northern Ireland after 2 soldiers and a policeman were shot dead. People will turn out in Belfast, Lisbon, Newry and Londonderry at lunchtime following the attacks that have been linked to dissident Republican groups. Police are still questioning 2 people over the murder of Constable Stephen Carroll in County Armagh. A family who repeatedly ignored council orders to turn down their TV in Rochdale have had their 52-inch plasma seized. Their stereo's also been taken after neighbours complained about the noise. The dispute between them's been going on since 2006.
Well, I'm deaf in both ears. My little girl's deaf, so if it's loud, then to me it's not loud. So I don't know what the problem is.
It's actually made me physically ill because you sort of walk in from work and you come home and you want a bit of peace and quiet and all. You walk through the door and all you can hear is the thud coming and you just go, oh my God, is that going to go on all night? Is it just going to be a few hours? Is it? And it's just one of those, you actually just wait and then you're waiting for something to happen. And when there's nothing happening because it happens so often, you're just waiting for something to happen all the time.
Environmentalists are wanting more businesses to sign up to help plunge more of Manchester into darkness later this month. As part of the so-called Earth Hour, they want lights to be switched off to raise awareness of a need to do more to care for the planet. It'll be happening in cities across the world. Colin Butfield is from the World Wildlife Fund.
We're trying to get 1,000 cities across the world to all shut out their lights for an hour at 8:30 on March 28th. And the idea is that this will send a strong message to world leaders that we need to take action on climate change at a summit they're all attending later in the year. And what we want to do in Manchester, because we picked a few cities in the UK that we thought would really, really embrace this, is pick big areas of Manchester that are just going to plunge into darkness for that hour. And one of the main focuses is the area around the Wheel. So we've got the Wheel and hopefully the Triangle and a lot of the shops and restaurants around there. And we want that to sort of plunge into darkness, and hopefully people will be doing things like candlelit dinners in the restaurants, who will be having a bit more of a festive atmosphere around this kind of thing. So it's pretty exciting stuff already happening in Manchester, and we're up here for a couple of days to try and persuade more businesses and restaurants and things to take part.
Some teenagers from Moss Side have taken part in one of their final shows before taking it to the States. The work they perform at the Poetry Slam tries to sum up life growing up in the inner city. They're getting ready to take it next to Chicago, a mix of ditties, both witty and gritty.
During the day, I made Princess Sophia my alter ego.
I'm Reese, I'm part of the Young Identity writing group. We'll be going to Chicago in July for a festival called Brave New Voices, which is an international poetry slam.
Young Identity is a means for me to express myself and get my point across and get my views heard. If I think something, then through Young Identity I can get on the stage and I can get my voice out there, I can get publicity, I can get people to see me.
At first I didn't think poetry was what it is now, and I've grown, and I think it's helped me both educationally, mentally and physically, and the bond we have together, it's just powerful.
That's all from me for this morning. I'll be back with the Channel M lunchtime news at 12 noon, and don't forget Andy Crane's here with a full roundup of the day's news at 5 o'clock tonight.
Thanks, James. In just a couple of minutes, the latest sport with Byron and Mike. But first, you're never too young to learn about business. And old Byron went along to meet some young entrepreneurs from Webster Primary School.
I know. Hi. In a time of economic doom and gloom, it's easy to be a bit pessimistic about the future. But that's not the attitude that school children in Manchester are taking. No, quite the contrary. Young Enterprise Northwest have teamed up with a local law firm to put on workshops and classes here at Webster Primary School, teaching them all about business in the community, talking all about the nation, talking all about the world at large, and talking about money matters, but perhaps most importantly, about self-confidence. So let's find out what these bright sparks have been learning, shall we? Starts off with you, Mustafa. What have you found interesting this morning?
Well, I found interesting this morning by measuring stuff and learning new words like import and export. And in this country, we couldn't really grow coffee or beans because it's cold weather. So other countries like Africa or something, because they've got cold, hot weather, so they'll trade with us and things like that.
People have to grow different foods in the world to extrade and import and export to our country.
I learned that how far the food travels.
Oh, okay.
And I learned that where our clothes are made from.
There's been volunteers, haven't they, been coming in? Not your normal teachers. So has that been interesting?
Yes.
Katie, you're not a teacher here.
No, I'm not. I'm actually far from my normal job today.
You're one of the volunteers, a trainee solicitor. What have you been showing the youngsters here?
Today we've been trying to teach them about businesses and where they're located in and around the UK, trying to get them to appreciate how it starts from a first product all the way through to an end product that gets sold to the market.
We've been telling them a story about something to do with work or business and just getting an idea of what people do when they leave school, basically.
Now, younger and younger, they're having to decide what it is they want to get involved in when they're older, and it just gives them a chance to see it before they end up being at the stage where they're having to make really tough decisions about what they want to do.
I think the activities are great because they're so colourful, so they've been having a great time, and they've actually been coming up with some really sort of intelligent answers to questions. They know a lot more than I think I thought they would, which has been quite nice.
Now, I'm not entirely sure if I've caught up with a boy band or the most powerful men in business. Look at these suits. Talk about dressing to impress. So what have you been learning today?
I've been learning about trading, importing and exporting.
Are you going to be the next new business leaders?
Yeah.
What business?
Business trading.
Which one?
Trading.
Trading?
Yeah.
You're going to be a trader?
Yeah, going to places and making companies or something, selling things and getting things in exchange.
Now, there's a man with big ambitions. I like the cut of your jib, young man. Well, guys, thank you very much for speaking to us. You all having fun?
Yeah.
Let me hear you say we're having fun.
We're having fun.
One more time.
We're having fun.
I think it's fairly safe to say they're having a good time. I have a little bit of a quandary. I'm not entirely sure why, but when I think of Portsmouth, automatically Bob Marley springs to mind. Why is that, Mike Bradley?
I think there could be a bit of an exodus on the cards there, Byron, hey?
Exodus!
Movement of Paul Hart's people. Up to 18 first-team players could be on the way out there. Paul Hart, the boss, has been told to reduce the wage bill by 25%. Sol Campbell looks like being the first casualty, and you've got players like Kanu, Lauren, and also Herman Haridason there, all big names there. So maybe one or two bargains to be picked up by clubs outside the top 2 or 3 in the Premiership. But for Portsmouth, you do wonder, with the backers looking to move on and sell up as well, whether this is maybe the beginning of the end of what was a once proud, famous club. I hope not.
It all went terribly wrong when Harry left, though, didn't it?
It didn't. It went right for Spurs, doesn't it? So maybe they should have kept him on there. But another player we're looking at in this area, Wigan, are looking at Derby's young midfielder Chris Commons. We believe they're preparing a bid of £2.5 million. They'll launch that at the end of the season. So plenty of players coming up here. Maybe Sol Campbell's going to be appearing in a blue shirt up here. We don't know. Newcastle manager Joe Kinnear, he had their triple heart bypass surgery only a few days ago, really, in the great scheme of things. He's vowed to return to work for their next game at home, to be on against Stoke City on April the 11th. He wants to be back in charge there.
That sounds insane.
It does sound insane, but you know, they do say once football gets into your blood, I mean, it's there forever, and I just think he's missing the game so much. It's unfinished business. He doesn't need the money, he doesn't need the aggravation either, but I just think he wants to make sure Newcastle stay up, and fair play to him.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair play to him. But of course, obviously, we've got to think about it, the health implications, and hopefully wish him all the best.
Absolutely, of course we do.
Right road to recovery. All right, Robin van Persie, speaking of getting healthy.
Speaking of health, it's been a healthy week on the Breakfast Show as well. He has come out yesterday. He didn't want to sign a new contract, but he wants to stay at the club. He can't make his own mind up. He's come out today and said he only eats meat once a week because of the negative effect on his muscles. I've never heard that one before, but we're going to be speaking to a doctor about that later on and see what he has to say. That's unusual, but he's a good lad. Robin van Persie does keep himself fit, so maybe that's the way forward.
Well, this is it. I mean, as the Gunners go, he has probably been their top firer.
Of course he has. Yeah, he's one of the best players of the season.
OK, let's turn our attention now to the Theatre of Dreams, and what a clash it's going to be in the Champions League tonight as Manchester United take on Inter Milan.
Yeah, United, as you say, 0-0 against Inter Milan in the first leg is all to play for at Old Trafford tonight, and we've been speaking to Sir Alex.
Well, I think that reflects the growing confidence and sense of the maturity as a team. I think that over the last 2 years, I think you have to say that some of our performances in Europe have been very good. The Roma games and the Barcelona games, you know, I think that there is very good evidence there. And I think that most importantly, I think you see the massive improvement in our team from 2 years ago in the semi-final against AC Milan and until today. And we have the far more maturity and understanding of the European Champions League.
He looks relaxed, he looks ready to go. But what of the players?
Well, Patrice Evra has been speaking to us as well. Last time out in the Champions League, you remember United drew 0-0 with Barcelona in the Nou Camp, then he went on to win the league. Patrice Evra believes there's something to be learned from drawing 0-0 in Milan as well.
It was a massive game against Barcelona. I think it's a similar situation tomorrow against Milan. And I think now you got the experience, but you know, every game is different. But you need to do the same concentration, the same spirit, and I think it should be okay tomorrow because you play at home. It's true you draw to the first game, but now is the past. You need to think about the future. The future is tomorrow, and the game is at home. You need to win.
All right, Mike, who do you think are going to be the danger men for United?
Danger men for United? Well, any of the 10 outfield players, really. I mean, I think they've all been on target this season, but you look at Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, if he starts, but Berbatov, 9-1's first goal scorer, is a good bet, so is Paul Scholes. But for Inter Milan, keep your eye on Ibrahimovic. The jury's still out on him, whether he is one of the continent's best players. I don't think he is up there in the top 10, but he's about 9-1 to be Inter Milan's first goal scorer. He could be the danger man for them. OK, well, let's stick with Inter Milan, and Jose tipped up to Manchester in rather subdued fashion. He was subdued. He's always subdued, but he's ultra confident, and yesterday he told us about how he's not bothered the first leg finished 0-0.
0-0 away from home is not a very good result. It's a result that leaves lots of question marks in the air. It's not an easy result. And we were a bit disappointed because a draw at home is never a great result too. So I think was a game of a little bit of frustration for both sides. I lost a semi-final against Liverpool with a 0-0 draw at home, but I won a Champions League semi-final with a 0-0 at home in the first leg. It's not a result that leaves somebody in a better position. If they win, they go through. If we win, we go through. If we draw with goals, we go through. And the difference between all these three situations is a very, very narrow distance. Is a goal, is a detail, is a mistake, is really a little a little difference. So I think it's a game of it's a game for people that can hold the pressure, I believe, because it's a game of high pressure for both sides.
Mike and I differ in regards to the predictions for tonight's scoreline. I say 3-1. He says 0-0.
I say 1-1.
I'll be right.
I say 1-1.
You say 1-1.
I say 1-1, not 0-0. Bit of difference. Yeah. One's got no goals, one's got 2.
Let's finish off on this cricket, shall we?
Bit of cricket, bad news for all England cricket fans. We drew the 5th and final test. That means we lost 1-0 with 3 drawn. We could have won 3-1, but I don't know. England are the only cricket team can snatch a defeat from the jaws of victory. Unbelievable. Kevin Peterson, question marks hang over his captaincy this morning with Sir Ian Botham labelling him pathetic. And on that bombshell, I think we'll leave it and wait to see highlights of United against Inter Milan tomorrow morning.
Yes, indeed. I'll be right at 3-1, by the way.
That'll be a first.
Yeah. Right, time now for a break. Coming next, we're celebrating 100 years, count them, 100 years of magic. See you shortly.